What's happening, everybody? Happy Tuesday night. Thank you to the OBR Streaming Network for hosting us. And thank you to the OBR subscribers and listeners for listening. This is Joe Mazzullo, and this is Pete Smith. This is Pete and Joe breaking down our Browns information heading into draft weekend. Guys, we got a lot going on. We got the draft on Thursday. We got two, well, I would say 1.5 big trades to talk about. One of them very close to home, and we got some OTAs kicking off. Pete, we got a lot going on, big guy. How are you?
Good, and ready for the draft to start now. In fact, call up Roger Goodell and let's start the clock now.
Yeah, I'm definitely down with that for sure. And right here, Joe Mannix. Yes, we will be doing a draft show on Thursday night, on Friday night, and Saturday as well. Thursday night's going to kick off at 7:30, a half hour before the real thing kicks off, and we'll take you the whole way up. We'll announce all the picks. We got fancy little bells and whistles, all that good stuff. So be sure to tune in on Thursday night. Now, Pete, back to you. And if I could set you up here, tell me your thoughts on the Dexter Lawrence trade from the Giants to the Cincinnati Bengals and why it's no bueno for Browns fans.
Yeah, I'm extraordinarily bitter at Joe Shane. The perception is that the Giants got some great trade, and I see it completely the opposite. I think they left value on the table. I think Dexter Lawrence is that good. Assuming his elbow is good, but that's the one caveat. If the injury he suffered to his elbow is like lingering and significant, okay, fine.
Yeah.
The Bengals the last time the Bengals defense was good, they had a 340-pound man named DJ Reader. Mm-hmm. And I've watched that man beat the Browns by himself. And Dexter Lawrence is better than DJ Reader. So you get the biggest tool you can throw to improve your defense, because I think the Bengals have a fair amount of talent in the secondary. Linebacker is a mess, but they have the capacity to fix it, and I suspect
that they've got at least young kids at linebacker who they drafted and who they like. They have ascending players.
Perhaps, but I am full. This is where you're going to be bitter, because now they are set up to go to pick 41, pick a linebacker out of Texas Tech, and all of a sudden the Cincinnati Bengals have a defense, and you go, okay, now we've got a problem. Like, that's ridiculously
plausible. That can absolutely happen.
Yes, and like they suddenly have a really good team. All of a sudden, we'll see. I could be dead wrong. I think the Bengals right now are the favorite to win the AFC North. That is
I agree with you. Yeah,
I think that is a huge swing, and there's a lot of reasons for that. The first, though, is that the other three teams in the AFC North are still trying to figure out who's going to be blocking the middle. Mm-hmm. I don't know who's going to play center for the Ravens. The Browns, obviously, depending on what they do in the next couple of days, Elton Jenkins is either going to play guard or center, most likely center. So you're still going to figure out that other guard spot. And the Steelers are replacing Seumalo at left guard. Mm-hmm. So all of these teams have to figure out how to block Dexter Lawrence, who's a guy you have to double team. As the Browns found out the last time they played the Giants, where that front was just a menace.
Yep.
But yeah, to me, it just, to me, it feels like 10th pick is cheap. And people, it's a top 10 pick. And this is where, like, I get it. If you're the Giants, I get it. You're like, oh, man, imagine the possibilities. But if you're telling me that you traded Dexter Lawrence, who's 28, going to be 29, and you can say, you can make the argument and not be wrong that, hey, he's probably going to slowly deteriorate. Okay, one, he's super motivated in a way he wasn't last year because he was playing on a bad team.
Yep,
I knew it and was miserable. So now he's motivated. But let's say he's 90% of his peak. That's still better than every nose in football by a very wide margin.
Yeah,
and it doesn't fix all the Bengals' problems. But
it certainly helps their number one problem, Pete, because they can't stop anybody.
Yeah, I mean, well, it just allows them to stop the run, because if nothing else, if they can get you to third down, okay, like that's different. Yeah, they've still got questions on the pass rush. I really like Boye Mafe. Like,
yep,
very, very.
Jonathan Allen too. They've had a damn good offseason.
I forgot Jonathan Allen's even there.
Yeah, that's really annoying.
And they've still got the dude they drafted last year, whatever you want to say of him. Like, last season was basically a waste.
Yeah.
So if you're the
Bengals, got him and Miles Murphy opposite of Boye Mafe.
And I like Miles Murphy. Mm-hmm. He's not a great the Browns have three Miles Murphys, basically. Yep. They have Isaiah McGuire and Alex Wright. That is what Miles Murphy has been to this point. So now you've got a really good set of run stoppers because BJ Hill didn't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So they can put you in third down and like junk up their defense and throw a whole bunch of stuff at you and just figure it out. Like, because if they keep Joe Burrow upright, the offense is going to cook.
Yeah,
So,
that's going to be a thing.
So, like, granted, and like the whole thing has been, as illustrated by last year, Shedeur Sanders and the Browns defense could still beat Joe Burrow, which is preposterous on its face. But like when you have Dexter Lawrence, now that might be out the window unless the Browns get substantially better on offense. Like the Browns offense was so bad and struggled against a terrible Bengals defense in that last game. It was not, I'm very interested to see what Shedeur Sanders can do this year. But like that was a terrible way to go out of last season. And granted, he got the game drive, great for him, but it was bad in terms of all that other stuff. So I like. The talking head people that I see are like, man, this is great for the Giants, and I can't help but think this is just if the Bengals are doing it, it can't be good. But then like I listen to like practical people who like have played or like really understand this stuff, and they're like, no, this is a huge problem because just what that guy does to everybody else. And people are like quote tweeting me and whatever saying, because I said Dexter Lawrence is a force multiplier. And they're like, well, force multiplier, they the Giants suck. Okay. Myles Garrett is a force multiplier at defensive end. He's the best non-quarterback player in the league, and the Browns won 5 games. Like it's a testament to how much you need to be a really good football team. But that doesn't change what Dexter Lawrence can do. One of their 4 wins, or whatever they had last year, was because of Dexter Lawrence just beating the crap out of the Browns and terrifying Deshaun Watson to a point where, and honestly, I don't put that game on him. I put it on the front. Like, they could not protect him. It was awful. And they still could have won that game. But, like, to me, I think the Bengals are at a major advantage. It doesn't mean the Ravens can't come back and win. They've got a lot of holes to address. But I think if you're the Bengals, this is obviously twofold. It's a great situation for Zach Taylor. It is also a very clear message to Zach Taylor. You better win football. You better be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because if not, he's gone. And obviously the Joe Burrow element is a real thing.
Oh, hell yeah.
Between the
fact that he can walk away from the game or just try to force his way out of town if it gets to that point. We saw Carson Palmer do it in his prime.
It's different. It's not the NBA, but it feels like he's having a LeBron effect in terms of cracking the whip and getting results.
Yeah.
In terms of, you guys have to take this seriously. And,
they're spending a lot of money for that franchise, Pete. They paid the receivers last year. They paid Joe, obviously. And now they're doling out money to big-time defensive players. I mean, it's Cincinnati's making all the moves we would wish that they wouldn't make. They're building up the defensive line in a very effective way. And, to your point, talking about the 10th pick, draft picks are magic beans, right? And they're getting the 10th pick in a year that doesn't have 5 clear-cut, or it has 5 clear-cut superstars, but high-end prospects. Then everybody else is lumped in the same category. So whether it's pick 10 or pick 20, I don't see a huge difference in the guys that you're going to get. And it's certainly not going to fill the shoes of a Dexter Lawrence. I don't know if you saw the tweet by Warren Sharp, all the, splits between him on the field and him off the field.
Yeah,
it is staggering.
It's crazy.
It's easy.
It's crazy. The other part about that is who in this draft, I will give you everybody. Mm-hmm. I'll give you the whole field. Forget who you think are going the first 9 picks. Everybody in the draft is available. Who are you putting on the Bengals that's going to do as much as Dexter Lawrence is for this team?
The closest thing that I could come to would be if Ruben Bain is the force that he appears to be, maybe he could come close off the edge. But honestly, nobody else on the defensive side of the ball really comes close. I mean, Dexter Lawrence is a freak.
And similarly, I get it from the Giants standpoint in terms of, well, one, I would fire Joe Shane.
Yeah,
that's
already happened, to be honest.
I mean, apparently that was the whole thing. Dexter Lawrence would not talk to anybody. They were not willing to talk to anybody. John Harbaugh never got to talk to Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah,
because they were just like, if Joe Shane is employed, they were done.
Yeah,
That would have been real easy for me. Joe, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see you later. We'll figure this out on the fly. Absolutely.
But similarly, like, so even if you're saying, well, Dexter Lawrence is on a different schedule than the rest of the Giants, I find that very difficult to buy, but whatever. Let's say it's true. What are the Giants going to get at 10 that is going to be equitable to what Dexter Lawrence can do? And that's where I sit here and go, I don't think you got enough. You can sit there and go, well, maybe Caleb Downs falls to them and go, okay, Caleb Downs can be great. And I'm not going to suggest he's not. Or like, I don't
know what would make Caleb Downs really freaking good, Pete? Having Dexter Lawrence in front of him. Yeah. That's the problem. They've created an enormous hole in the middle of their defense, and they're filling it with potentially an oft-injured wide receiver at the 10th pick.
Well, and I guess they're trying to get DJ Reader to fill the hole. And DJ Reader is a beast. I remember when he was a free agent, I was pounding the table and saying, please go get him Brown.
Yeah.
He is not the same. He has fallen off quite a bit. Now, as a situational run-stopping guy, I suspect he can still be pretty good. And maybe he's going to give you a slightly better season than he has in the past. It ain't the same thing.
Yeah.
And so unless you are going to do something very rash, would be like, maybe and this is where the Giants become this big wild card. If they want to trade back and try to use this to like amass more assets and then take Caden McDonald, okay, it's like, that's interesting. He's still not Dexter Lawrence, but that's at least interesting. But yeah, you've got Abdul Carter, you've got a number of these pass rushers, but you've caved out the middle of your defense.
Yep.
And like this whole thing up to this point was like, I thought, Mina Kimes made a really good argument for this, was saying like, with Dexter Lawrence and Abdul Carter and all these pass rushers you had, you put Sonny Styles on there, who's a really, really good run defender, and like he would fix the thing that you couldn't do.
Yeah.
Now I sit here and go, how are you going to sort of make this work? So I'm very curious to see what they do. But like, if they draft Jordan Tyson, which has been rumored substantially, I mean, I wish Jordan Tyson all the luck in the world, but now the biggest camp battle he's going to face is going to be when he gets to the regular season and he has to take on the Meadowlands turf, because that thing takes no prisoners and he scares the crap out of me. So, I mean, and the other part is like, again, I wish him well, but like, I don't want the Browns to draft him at 6. I don't want him to draft him at 12. I don't love the idea of drafting at 24. I get it. Again, range of outcomes, you go superstar, but like the injuries just scare the crap out of me. But
yeah, that's honestly, Pete, that's my thing. I still feel like at the end of the day, when I'm watching these guys on film, he still pops unlike any player in the draft. He's just absolutely fantastic to watch. He's such a smooth route runner. He's explosive. He's got those rare qualities that you see in a number one, like a Odell or a Justin Jefferson. I'm certainly not putting him on that level, but it's like his ability to glide and just like kind of teleport places in short areas and stuff. I don't know. I'm fascinated with him. I'm so terrified to take him, but I'm even more scared to see him twice a year in Baltimore or twice a year in Pittsburgh or some stupid thing like that. I'm with you. I can't, especially number 6. You can't. The injuries are just too much. But man, he's fun to watch.
I think fully healthy. Like, take away all the injury stuff, he's still wide receiver 2 to me. He's I hesitate at that point, but he's behind Lemon. Yeah, I get it. Like, I see it. Like, I watched him at Arizona. I watched him on Arizona State with the hamstrings, dragging that team to a couple wins. Like, I get it, but like,
but it's a real issue. It's a real issue.
The season's not getting shorter. Yeah, so it's just like it's just crazy. So, if I'm the Giants, and I don't want to give them ideas, but I'd be trying to trade back and use one of those picks to keep the gravy train rolling. But obviously, I don't know how realistic that's going to be in this draft, because they need a lot of stuff. Like, they need a lot of players, especially now without Lawrence. So we'll see. But that's the other side of this. The Bengals don't move. Like, the one thing you could count on, this is so out of character for the Bengals, but like, even had they kept the pick, they weren't moving off the pick, and everybody knew what they were going to do. They were going to take defense. So it changes so many of the dynamics because now the Giants, some people think they're going to take Jordan Tyson at 5. I don't buy it. Some people think they're going to take Jordan Tyson at 10. They could trade because they will trade. They can do all kinds of different stuff. And it's now
do anything. Yeah.
It's changing the calculus for teams behind the Giants who are sitting there going, uh-oh. Like if you're the Rams and you're going, oh, man, Jordan Tyson's going to fall right to us or, one of those. Maybe that potentially makes things better for the Browns in terms of if they're trying to finagle a trade or, up the ante on a trade. Now, who knows? They may already have a trade in place. I mean, they did last year, but that certainly puts a wrinkle in this as far as how this thing's going to play out. At this point, I still think it's going to be one of Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs and then Jordan Tyson, which fine. But we'll see. But either way, it just it puts a little bit of a wrinkle into the strategy for all those teams.
Yeah, it most certainly does. So moving over to the second trade that I talked about. Now, this one isn't going to be completed until after June 1st, so it's technically not like officially official. But the word on the street is that A.J. Brown is going to the New England Patriots for a first-round pick. We just don't know if it's 2027 or 2028 at this point, which is a lot of momentum for 2028 just because they wanted a first-rounder for A.J. and not many people were willing to pony it up. So that might be kind of where they met in the middle. What do you feel about that one? Because I think that's a strong trade for New England as well.
Just I get it from their standpoint. They've got the rookie quarterback. They want and Drake May is really, really good, and you want to capitalize. AJ Brown, I think he could be really good for a year, but I think we're already seeing him start to decline.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that I think may work in his favor is I think the offense in New England's probably going to be a little more functional than it was in Philadelphia. There were just so many things that were limiting the offense in Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts wasn't playing very well. The offense was really predictable.
Is Drake May the best quarterback A.J. Brown ever played with?
Yes, by far.
Yeah.
By far. Yeah. Right now, anyway. I mean, Jalen Hurts, to be fair to Jalen Hurts, phenomenal.
He's the Super Bowl winner. Yeah.
The Super Bowl year, he was outstanding. But, I think Drake makes better. The other part about that I like is the potential cast that he's going to be stepping into with Dobbs, with the Josh
Booty.
Yeah, I'm curious. It sounds like they may try to move him. But yeah, either way, you still got talent at tight end. You've got the backs, which may become you may see more out of Trevion Henderson in terms of the passing game because there may be more space for him. So
Kyle Williams is there too. It'll be interesting to see how he ascends. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that it makes sense for them, but it's very strange to me because you are paying the Eagles and the other benefit you get. Not that this is going to make a huge difference for the Patriots right this second, but it will matter eventually, is part of the reason that A.J. Brown is going to cost as much as he will is because you have to eat a ton of dead cap because the Eagles structure their contracts just like the Browns do. So they accelerate their contracts. They do the shifting it down the road, void years, all the stuff. So part of the trade for the Eagles is saying, we give up a player, but you got to give us enough value to be willing to eat all of this dead cap. So simultaneously, that also means that the Patriots are not, that he's going to come at a really cheap contract figure. So the other element of this is they're going to get to use their picks this year and do it. Now, having said that, obviously 2027 is seemingly the sweet spot. Now, New England's thinking Super Bowl now.
Yeah.
But still, and it's also deferred, so it feels like it's a slightly smaller thing to give up. But you get the draft you're going to use this year, and then, theoretically, you're adding A.J. Brown. So you're getting all of this influx of talent on what was a very fortunate ride last year, but maybe this will fortify them into being the team that they were clearly ahead of schedule last year.
Yeah.
Maybe this will make them more legitimate.
Well, and that's the thing too, Pete. There is several avenues for this team to do worse win-loss wise, but still improve as an overall team. Like they had a lot of stars aligned to make last year work the way that it worked. And the NFL, everything about that league is a crapshoot year to year. We see it all the time. We see the worst of first. We see all that stuff. But they're in a great position. Look, AJ Brown, like a lot of wide receivers, he's an interesting cat, man. And when you're reading books on the sideline and you're constantly making things about yourself and your production in the midst, they won the Super Bowl, and he has pouted ever since. It's such a tough thing to they traded for you, they paid you, they won a Super Bowl with you, but you're so unhappy because you don't have the numbers that you want. I'm kind of floored by it, but I will never be in that position, so I don't really know what it's like to have those options.
I think it's a gift to be able to be that fortunate and still find yourself to be
so unfortunate.
to get all the money, all the rewards, all the benefits, and still find yourself. Why can't they finally think about me?
It's pretty crazy. It really is. That was always my favorite thing about James Harden pre-Cavs, right? Is he goes to a place, he changes everything around, and then a year later he's like, this place sucks. I'm out of here.
So, and the other part for the Patriots is simply the benefit, the fact that they are not content. They clearly think, yeah, we got to the Super Bowl. We clearly benefited from something. And obviously, they fell woefully short. The game was not close.
Yeah, with
the Seahawks. But they also are probably sitting there thinking, we've got to get a lot better because we're probably not going to luck into, the Denver Broncos with a backup quarterback again. We're probably not going to luck into, well, maybe they could. CJ Stroud just saying, here, have the game.
Yeah.
They've got to be a better football team. And, if the Chiefs are able to bounce back, if some of these other teams are able, and suddenly they've got to face the best quarterbacks in football, that's going to be a challenge. So they want to get as much as they can. So I applaud them for being aggressive and doing that. I'd be nervous about AJ Brown, but for where they are, I totally get it. I get the calculus.
Not just where they are, you got to look at what's available too, and I feel like AJ Brown is probably the best, ready to go veteran on the market that is actually available for a reasonable price. There's veterans out there, but nobody to that level, nobody with that sort of, Super Bowl clout to walk into a locker room and kind of, command respect sort of stuff. I don't know. I do. I like the move for New England. There's always downsides to these things. And anytime you got a volatile personality like that, it could always go sideways. It always could. But pound for pound, the player, AJ Brown's a stud.
So it's just difficult because they just did the thing with Stephon Diggs, and they had no problems for a year. Now, Stephon Diggs did off the field, allegedly.
Yeah, he at the seams.
It did not become an issue until obviously Stephon Diggs did not play well in the Super Bowl. So they must feel confident in their ability to deal with it. So we'll see. If it comes apart, great. I'm not going to be upset about that in the least. I'm sure the Eagles wouldn't be either because that would help their pick. But hey, aggressive, go for it. Try to win.
Anything to the reconnection between Vrabel and AJ Brown? Because I thought that was always a good relationship, right? Maybe that's kind of why they're a little more open to AJ.
That's obviously a big factor. Clearly a big factor because AJ Brown and AJ Brown, when he was traded, Mike Vrabel was pissed.
Yeah,
felt betrayed about the direction of the organization. That started a huge rift, which ultimately led to Mike Vrabel eventually being let go.
Yep.
In Tennessee. So yeah, whether or not that's going to matter in AJ Brown's calculus in terms of how he thinks, given the fact his ability to find himself fraught with peril, difficult to say. But yeah, clearly Mike Vrabel is betting on his ability to get whatever he needs to get out of AJ Brown to make it work.
Alrighty. Well, let's talk about our Brownies, dude. Let's talk about OTAs. You were down there. You were taking pictures. You were taking practice in, all that stuff. Tell me about it, man. So first things first, Shador took the first 11 on 11 reps, but it was pretty much alternated throughout the whole day, right?
Right.
Okay.
I learned nothing about the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
there's several reasons for that. It's day one.
yeah.
Defense woefully outmatches the offense for multiple reasons. One, talent. Two, your offensive lines, and in anything that had a line,
Yeah.
they even have shoulder pads on, so the offensive line is just screwed. They don't have some of the guys they're counting on, like Elton Jenkins is not practicing.
Yeah. DeWand is still
DeWan
hurt.
Jones was in his gear, but not doing anything competing wise. So KT Leviston was your quote unquote
Left
first tackle.
Yeah.
And the second team had guys that some people have never heard of, which I think underlines the point of what one of the emphasis they need to have in the draft.
Yeah.
Todd Monken on two different questions about the offensive line mentioned and whatever happens in the draft. So
yeah, there's clearly stuff on the pipeline.
But you don't have Jerry Jeudy, you don't have Denzel Ward, you don't have Grant Delpit, you don't have Myles Garrett. So I mean, the stuff about Myles isn't there. This is some huge deal. One, I don't care about that, and two, okay, is it a big deal that Denzel Ward's not there or Delpit's not there or that Judy's not there? And look, when you don't have Jeudy there, it makes a big difference, which also highlights one of the things they need to do.
Yeah.
But I saw ESPN Cleveland had their accuracy tracker in there, and I would just say, based on what I saw today, there's a reason they don't track yards. Almost everything completed was about 2 feet from the quarterback. It was tight end, underneath. They threw a couple slants, but the defense was all over the place. And this is the problem. Is part of the reason who basically did nothing today as far as standing out? Carson Schwarzenegger. But you know what he is, so it's
you know how good he is.
So it's
stand out to. It's a walkthrough.
Yeah, right. So that's why how do you handicap the quarterback? I don't one. It's just interesting to get a sense of where these guys are and then see what they do. So they threw him in there. They let him throw. They let him do stuff. Great. We saw them, do some of the offensive stuff. Great. But there's nothing to take away from anything other than I like the way Todd Monken runs a practice. It's very efficient. He's not, and it's one practice, so we'll see. You don't really notice him. You can see where he's at, where the head coach would be.
Yeah.
He's on the walkie-talkies, doing his thing. You don't really notice him. You notice Rutenberg more because one, you always notice defensive guys more because they're more loud. They're louder. I mean, I thought it was pretty well run in terms of everybody knew where they're going for the most part, other than one special team station where you always got defensive line go, what the hell am I doing? I thought it was good from that standpoint. So I was pleased with that from the football nerd standpoint of knowing what a practice should look like and having seen some really bad ones at all-star games and stuff. So he passed that test. But the other thing that sort of stood out to me, I already mentioned the guys who weren't there. Well attended, I thought, for this thing. Tyson Campbell's there, Harold Fannon's there. There, a lot of guys. You're sort of voluntary veteran mini camp. You can see a lot of guys screw this. They had a lot of guys there, so that's
good. Hell yeah.
So for what it was, there were some things that, for people who subscribe, there's some stuff in the forums I tried to get to, but
anybody stand out physically? Anybody look good or look bad or look like they gained weight, look like they lost weight, look like they added muscle? Any differences you could tell?
I don't know about differences. Zion Johnson is a brick shit house. Jesus Christ. He is
really?
He is he doesn't you look at, he does not carry much fat. He is just chiseled dude. Kalia Davis is just a giant barrel of a torso. It is sticking out there. You're you sort of watch him on tape and you're sort of what's the you see why they brought him based on just the physicality. There's just Mason Graham looks very sleek to me. I'm very curious to know what he weighs. I don't think he's like lighter or anything. I suspect he put on more muscle and stuff. He looks really good, but he doesn't look like he's carrying any extra real weight.
No, he doesn't have a huge upper body, So it's like when he's not in shoulder pads, like he doesn't look menacing almost,
It's really interesting that he's like does not have a traditional sort of, I'd say like, yeah, I would say like relative to a defensive tackle. Like you'd think there's like more baggage than there is, and that's sort of what I'm interested to see. Like, I think it's part of the reason they drafted him, and he continues to stand out. He looks really good. He's having a blast out there. In terms of DeJuan Jones looks great. He didn't do anything, but just like he's looks really, really good.
Looks in good shape.
Yeah. Titus Howard is a very large human being, undeniably. Oh, other things to stand out. KT Levison's ass, it's huge. I understand where the power comes from. Like, this is the stuff I noticed. Yeah. Larry Ogunjobi. I remember watching him at the Senior Bowl. I'll be like, "Yep, stashing hams down the back of that." The power is like you get real clear indication.
Hey man, that's a strong base. Nothing wrong with that.
Yes, strong base. That's the other thing that I don't want to say looks bad. I just think based on the guys they have dressed, they need more. They need more offensive linemen. They just need more guys. Like it's clear they need more guys. Like,
well, it's a good thing we got this weekend rolling up on us.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what's interesting. I saw Andrew Berry hanging around that group a lot today.
Really?
He's all over the place, but like he did seem to make
put his eye on the O-line, huh? That's interesting.
Yes. Now, what that really means, I don't know, because they had a number of tryout guys there and some other stuff. But yeah, he was hanging out there quite a bit. So, anyone else stand out physically? Not really, because they don't have their gear on, and I don't know that anyone like dramatically changed. Like Isaiah Bond looks pretty good.
Yeah.
For a a small receiver, like doesn't look tiny. Running around out there. So I guess that's it. So nothing super extraordinary at this point.
Yeah. What's your take on the GoPro situation? I've never heard of this. I feel like it's very unique. I kind of dig it. Like
it's colleges and even some high schools do it.
Okay.
They want to see where their eyes are on everything.
Yeah.
So where are they pre-snap? Where are they post-snap? Hey, we're running this. Where are their eyes during the play? Like, why didn't they see something that maybe the coaching staff thought they should see? Well, their eyes were over here. So it's a really useful tool to a point. And you get into there's certain things that are really sort of easy to understand, and you get to, I guess, like weird video game tracking stuff where for people like competitive gaming people, they will like do these things where like they chart where their eyes are and how much information they're able to sort of parse. And if they're like super focused on one, like people who play an average game might have their eyes super focused on one minute area of the screen because that's all they can sort of focus on. And like people are the best, like they can see the mapping. It's the whole screen.
Yeah.
So there may be an application for that for this as well, to get a sense of like, I don't know how many Madden games this was ago when they messed around with the QB vision and like you'd have.
I remember. I got really good at that, Pete. I was legit.
Yes. So Peyton Manning had the whole half the field, like the entire field.
Yeah, Brady Quinn's was like this little thing.
Then you'd have these little like quarterbacks. It was like a sniper shot. So there is something to that, and I think that's another element to this. You're trying to get in a sense of how much information are they really processing when they're looking at it. I will be curious to see, if they do this the entire way, or if it takes until a defensive lineman smacks one. Now that would obviously be a penalty, but that in more ways than one, I suppose, at that point. So it's a useful tool, but a lot of places will do this. So I'm curious to see if it helps with everything they're doing, and obviously, there's tools that they have access to theoretically in terms of like VR and stuff, which may be able to build on this. Yeah. We'll see, but it is done. When I saw it, I was like, this is notable, but not terribly surprising.
Let me shift the conversation real quick. And I hate to be like doom and gloom and drop the mood of the whole thing. But let's talk about Deshaun Watson real quick. Now, Shedeur Sanders spoke to the media. Dylan Gabriel spoke to the media, right? Mm-hmm. No Deshaun.
He did not.
So I just, like, for the life of me, cannot figure out, like, if they're really, really going to make him a part of this thing. And, like, how is he not answered? Like, how is he not talking to the media? How, like, at this point, like, this is just, like, crazy to me.
It's going to come up eventually. I don't think it's a huge deal now.
Yeah.
But
like, why not? Like, that's my whole thing. Why? Like, it's not a big deal until he doesn't want to talk. So why?
Well, I suppose you can make the argument that it doesn't matter if he talks to the media until he matters in the quarterback conversation. And like, we get to a point where like they're actually saying, no, he's really a thing. And now he needs to talk to the media, because if we get into this thing and by, June, they're like, he's not going to bother, then it doesn't really matter. Him not talking to me is not going to be a thing. Now, there are going to be people in the media room who are going to sit there and still poke and prod and go, why isn't he talking to us and all this other stuff. But the other part of that is, if you watch the other two quarterbacks talk today, you got nothing.
Yeah, of course. Shedeur's his usual happy-go-lucky, speaking in, he's such a unique kid to listen to, and he's hard to follow, quite frankly. And yes. I didn't really see any of Dylan's stuff. I'm not even talking, like, I don't want to know how he's preparing in the offseason or how he's doing this, how he's doing that. Just like show your face. Like try to make yourself more of a human being. Try to make yourself a little bit more relatable than just like keeping yourself like in the corner and like not talking and not whatever. Like I'm annoyed enough that this guy's still on the roster, but like it's just like it's such an insult to Browns fans at this point. And every time I hear some radio person, well, if he puts together a good year, are you going to extend him? My God, I can't, Pete.
But he was courtside at the Cavs game. Isn't he human now? Like, isn't that how it works? Like,
first of all,
no, this is since he got here, this has been his biggest weakness. He sucks at. Yes. There was a point there were press conferences at points where he tried to get introspective, and it was kind of interesting to hear him talk about some of the stuff, but he really struggles to be human.
Yeah.
These conversations. It's like I think it's. I'm not going to say that is why he has failed miserably to this point in Cleveland. I just think it has been one more thing that he has sucked at.
Yeah. And it's magnified because he's not good. If he were balling, nobody would care. Let him be a shut-in. And
I mean, like it's there are people who are going to complain about what Shedeur was saying today and all this. And all I will say on any of this stuff is, if they play well, it will be a charm, and if he plays badly, it will be, why the hell did anyone think this was going to work with listen to this guy talk? I mean, that's how this always works. Oh, it's he's quirky and fun and interesting and all this other stuff. Versus,
or it's goofy.
He's just he's goofy and he's a dope. Yes. Like, I mean, that's how it works. So I would just say that what Shedeur is saying when he's like talking to the media about, you guys need to be more positive about all this stuff. If you play well, it will be fine. If not, this stuff's going to be revisited, and there are going to be people who are going to look to take pot shots at you over it.
Yeah. Well, look, I agree with that, but I also strongly agree with Shedeur that the mood around this team could be just the slightest bit more positive.
How do you think that went over?
Well, of course, all the angry, disgruntled reporters that have been dealing with bad football for so long take it all out on this year's team, but it's not their fault.
I like. There were a couple of answers. I just started laughing. I was just like, because I know what he's doing, and it's just like, All right,
Yeah.
this is what you. All right, cool. Let's see what. Again, if you play well, who cares? But like,
Yeah.
other than that, there's a certain element to it. And it's nothing against the kid. It's like there's a certain point where it's just noise filling up space right now. And
Yes.
part it's also the element of they don't want to talk about last year because they sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he did this weird dance where he's like kind of talking about last year, and there are people who are like trying to interpret him saying like he's blaming stuff on Stefanski, and I'm not entirely sure I buy that, but
Yeah.
which also won't help him in this case. But then he's like also talking about like just being thankful and all this. So we'll see. He's obviously a very unique kid in terms of
Yeah.
how he operates and how he learns and all this other stuff. So the results are going to dictate so much with what he's able to do. One thing I will say for sure, and it's super limited. It seems like he's put in some work on his feet. I want to see more because he's not doing a whole lot. There were a couple times he had to move around a little bit, but it does feel to me like he's maybe put in a little work trying to clean up and trying to make his footwork more efficient.
Well, it's good. I mean, that's always good. And look, the young man bought a house in Cleveland. He stayed here all off season. He's put in work. He's approaching it the right way. And at the end of the day, there's other forces that are going to decide whether or not he can play at a high level at the NFL level.
Agreed. So long as he does not end up in a position where he's doing a thing where it feels like he's blaming his failures on other people last year.
Yeah.
That is a very tricky line to walk. I would recommend he not do it. And I would obviously I suspect somebody will say this to him.
Yeah. The thing is, Pete, it's a slippery slope though, because if he praises how he feels in the early going of this offseason, just his relationship with Coach Monken, all that stuff.
That part in itself
correlation is like, was this missing last year? It's almost disingenuous to the kid, though.
No, that part's fine. It's when he basically he went on this weird tangent about because I don't know who this was aimed at, where he's like, me not learning it was maybe because you couldn't communicate it or something like that, or I don't know if this was like trying to be very general or if it because some people were like taking this as a
direct shot.
So what I would say is talk up your relationship with Monken. Just my advice to him would be like, listen, you want to ask me about last year at his next media availability, let's do it here and now this one time. Kind of like what Quincy Williams did with his press conference, talking about his stuff with the Jets. And then just let's move on. I want to focus only on this year. And he really clearly wanted to do that in some ways, where he really wants to focus on this year, because there were a couple of times where how do you compare, this and that? And he didn't want to get into those things. So he seems kind of aware of it. So I think there are times also he's sort of ineloquent in how he's trying to describe what he actually thinks. And I think there are times where people run with the wrong assumption about what he's saying, but no, I'm fine with him saying the stuff about, Todd Monken
breathed life into me. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Great.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm here for that. It's the part where I don't want, that I think will get him in trouble, is if he gets into this whole thing where it feels like he's actually taking shots, not people reading into positive for Todd Monken means negative about anyone else.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on, I feel like at every turn, he is very, very, very aware that he needs to get better and he has tons of room for growth and all that stuff. I don't think, and I obviously can't speak for him, I don't think that's necessarily him trying to get out of what his results ultimately were. I feel like he's been pretty open about that. Yeah.
No, and honestly, I feel like some of it's just his weird. It feels like at times like he's fighting the world in some respects in terms of how he's perceived. So this is the part where it's because he's such this whimsical guy, you can get very mixed messages out of it. Two people can get completely different takeaways from what he says. Dylan Gabriel is the opposite. You know exactly what he says every time because he basically says the same thing every answer. You know, I'm running my own race, which is fine. I know all these people read, well, you're the third string. You don't even matter. Like what else is he supposed to say?
Yeah.
So that's the other part. Like, they're doing what they're trying their best relative to the situation. Like, I think these will get better and more interesting if we're like, 6 weeks from now when they've actually gotten to do some stuff.
Yeah.
But it wasn't good for anybody really, but it is what it is at this point.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's keep the focus on quarterback because there were two interesting things that I heard today. Interesting thing number one was Adam Schefter identifying 3 young veteran quarterbacks that the Browns could target on draft weekend. One of them is my guy Will Levis, but then we had Spencer Rattler and we had Anthony Richardson. I got to tell you, Pete, I'm 1 for 3 in that scenario. I would love to see Will Levis on this team. I got another for Spencer Rattler. I think he and Shedeur I think Shedeur is a better version of Spencer Rattler. And then Anthony Richardson.
Unserious. No, you know what I love? I love this talk about Anthony Richardson going to Pittsburgh. Love it. Let's do it.
Yeah. I would be actually no, because you know how Pittsburgh's luck works, Peter. Anthony Richardson would somehow find a passion for football. No, it would all be over.
I want Anthony Richardson to go to Pittsburgh, get in the game, and quit in the middle in a Steelers uniform. I want that to happen.
I'd be down for that. I would sign up for that.
I don't know if I buy the idea that Shedeur is a better version of Rattler. I would just say that Rattler doesn't do anything for me relative to what they have in the room. If he's 5% better than Shedeur, I don't care. But
that's the thing. I don't necessarily think that he was. I don't think that he was in college. He had a nice college career. He's a talented kid. He's got a whip of an arm. Yeah.
That's the deal. I think he's fine. But if you're the Saints, you're not trading him because you're giving him away.
Yeah.
You're trading him because you're trying to get a profit. I'm not interested in helping them out with that. So Will Levis is the one who feels here's a 6th-round pick. We'll give it okay, fine. You do the thing you did with Pickett last year. I'm fine with that. I got no issue with that. Just I'm not interested in Richardson at all.
Agreed.
Love the idea of sending him to Pittsburgh. I don't think that's where he's going to go, but they're just like there were Browns people who are like, oh, I love the idea of taking Anthony Richardson. He's so athletic and big and strong, and maybe they can figure it out here. Okay, fine. I have no interest, but maybe that's the thing with Pittsburgh. But yeah, of those 3, Will Levis is the most appealing. I don't think there's much of a future, but at least he can throw the ball around and maybe there's something there.
Yeah. So Mary Kay Cabot went on the radio again today and said 6th pick, Ty Simpson.
Yep. Listen.
How do we feel about that?
Well, she would fit in on Check the Mic. Not that they're suggesting that the Browns take Ty Simpson at 6, but just the idea of you keep taking swings at quarterback because the upside is so significant.
Yeah.
If you hit, it's worth it. Now, I think Ty Simpson, and the data supports this, is upside is average. I have no interest in this. Now, forget the 6th. I don't have an interest in this in 39. I don't have an interest really in this at 70.
Yeah.
If the upside is just average, what are we doing?
That's kind of where I am with Simpson. I like Ty Simpson. I do. But you're talking about sub 6'2", barely 200 pounds. He didn't hold up physically in the SEC. He doesn't have a whip of an arm. He's got a nice arm, but not a crazy arm. He's not a crazy athlete. He's poor man's Brock Purdy. No? Is that a reasonable argument?
I think that's the upside case is you are hoping that somehow he becomes that.
It's such a tough sell early. And especially and I don't care if it's the Browns or if it's any team in the first round. We've been talking about it all offseason. You take Ty Simpson in round 1, you're not taking a quarterback in 2027. Who's going to take themselves out of that race for that prize? I just don't see it.
Yeah, look, my case is take an undrafted quarterback. Yeah. I think the difference between the guys who are going to go in the 4th round and the guys who are going to go after the draft is practically zero. And I wrote about it and I referenced Dane Brugler's draft guide. He has 3 quarterbacks in the whole draft with a solid day 1 or day 2 grade. 3.
Yeah.
There's 7 quarterbacks with some kind of that are fringe draftable.
Who's his third? Is it Nussmeier or is it Drew Aller? Nussmeier? And he's got Aller in day 3.
He's got Aller in the 3rd, 4th turn.
Like fringe day 2, day 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the only guys he has that are fully one, obviously one's Mendoza, and then he's got Ty Simpson and then Garrett Nussmeier. And I want nothing to do with Garrett Nussmeier. I could not want anything less to do with Garrett Nussmeier. He weighs less than Dylan Gabriel does. Yeah, okay, he's taller. He's also dealt with injuries, and he weighs less than Dylan Gabriel. And that might be like upselling his weight if you try to like add on more. So
and he still has the issue. He's got a cyst on his back that's probably going to require surgery, right? It's going to.
I don't know about probably, but might. Yeah, and I get why anyone would be like, yeah, I would really like to avoid surgery.
Yeah,
anything on the back.
Yeah,
but like, if Diego Pavia goes undrafted, I would rather have Diego Pavia than one of these guys. If the kid from Morehead State, Jack Strand, goes undrafted, or Joey Aguilar from Tennessee goes undrafted, like, sign me up. You can bring in 2 of them, and if they suck, who cares? Like, and if one of them's good, fine. But like, I'm not giving up any draft capital. I get to use it to help, hopefully, Shedeur.
Yeah.
Or the guy they get next year, and I still get to take a swing. Like, I'm still looking. I'm still trying. I'm still
adding to the room
stuff. And at that point, you can like get something that Todd Monken likes in that scenario. But like, I would love to, this is one of those things I love, the sodium pentothal on Todd Monken. Is he really interested in these quarterbacks, or is he sitting there going, I want one of the aliens that's going to potentially be available next year? I suspect he wants one of the aliens.
Yeah.
As much as he might not sit there and love the situation they have now, he may be willing to sort of be patient if it gets him what he wants to get. And I would love to know what that truly is. I know a lot of people ascribe different things to him. I think he wants somebody who can make all the throws at the very least. I think he'd like to get mobility. I think there are guys that are going to be in it. Again, we'll see if they actually all come out. But there are going to be guys in next year's class that fit that profile. And one of them on I think, Bleacher Report draft where they had everybody who's sort of everybody's available. They gave Browns at 6th the USC quarterback, Jaden Mayava, who might fit this bill. Now, he's got to get a whole lot better, but he's huge, and he's got a big arm, and he runs around. He does a whole bunch of Caleb Williams things, and I can see where Todd Monken's like, give me some of that. But we'll see. I mean, either way, take the undrafted swing. I don't think you're going to lose. You're going to miss much, and they've done this before with other positions. Ronnie Hickman was a success in this sort of vein.
Mo Diabate,
same year. I mean, they signed 2 safeties, they signed 2 linebackers, and they got 2 guys out of it. Anthony Bell, undrafted free agent. Donovan McMillan last year, undrafted free agent. Huntington, we'll see what these guys can do. They have not hit on the like star in terms of a guy who's clearly a long-term starter for them.
Yeah,
I think that is coming.
Look, Hickman's going to have back-to-back years. He played at a pretty high level last year, and he could earn an extension. I think he would ultimately like to do better, but yeah.
I mean, that's the goal, is to get guys that can do that. But yeah, getting a starter is clearly a success. But like, I'm talking about like, I'm off the top of my head, Wayne Corbett, where they signed him to a longer term deal.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. So I wanted to bring this up because this is something that I feel like you and I disagree with. And not that we essentially disagree. I think we just have it flipped. I think there's going to be a tackle run. And I think that there is going to be a tackle run so hardcore in the first round that our pick at 24 is not guaranteed to get us one of the top guys that we're looking for. And I would love, because I kind of feel like you think that they need to go wide receiver early because there's going to be a tackle there later. I think it's the opposite. And I would love to get your take on that thought. And then I'll obviously retort whatever mean stuff you say.
Well, a lot of it depends on what you believe about the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
Because it's a weird wrinkle. But to counterpoint, the New York Giants were a factor that was not there before at 10. So if Jordan Tyson is coming off the board at 10, that is one receiver that you did not anticipate being gone in that range. Likewise, if the Pittsburgh Steelers don't believe in Dylan Cook and say, we're going to get a tackle, we want to get another first-round guy to replace Broderick Jones, who unfortunately had to get neck fusion surgery and had a setback, and they're not sure what his situation is going to be, then that's a tackle that's now out of the equation.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like, and then if you just fall back on sort of history would say take the tackle first because they tend to go.
I just feel like it's safe, right?
Yeah.
And in a draft that doesn't have so many studs, lots of teams are going to go safe.
Now, having said that, I still look at this draft and I say there are 3 wide receivers that I absolutely love and would be happy to have, and I think 2 of them will never make it to 24.
Yeah,
Carson Tate and Mekhi Lemon. The third might, but I'm not really loving the chances. Now, the guys who cover the draft and swear by this stuff, including like some people who think he's going to be in round 2, which I think is utterly preposterous. I would absolutely run the card up for Casey Concepcion at 24 without a second thought. Now, it'll drive people nuts because he's the Jerry Jeudyest receiver in this draft.
Yeah.
But he's everything. The data is fantastic on him, and whether you want to think the stuff he did out of the Players Tribune and stuff is just like, a gimmick or whatever, or you think that's genuinely what the kid is, that's part of it. It seems everything I've heard about this kid is he's awesome. Like, he's just a great kid. So that's part of it. Not only are you sitting there going, this guy got open against everybody, but like, we feel like getting him, we're betting on the kid. He's going to improve on the things because that's just who that's how he's wired.
Yeah.
If you're telling me I get one of those 3 receivers, you tell me I get Concepcion at 24, fine. Give me a tackle.
Yeah.
I have said, and I wrote this months ago, I don't trust that he's going to make it there because for the simple fact, like, the 33rd team did a video of everybody's like 41 different people who do draft stuff, their favorite prospect.
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 of them were Casey Concepcion. It only takes one team in that range to think that and be done. Like, the one team that's never linked to Casey Concepcion there's 2 teams that I think that are never linked to Casey Concepcion that would be absolutely awesome for him: the Chiefs and the Rams. I never hear his name linked to them, but both those teams, I see it and I go, oh man, that makes a ton of sense for them.
Yeah.
But like, if one of those teams goes, no, we love this guy, and now you're out and you're sitting there going, I sure hope Denzel Boston makes it there. And then I sit there and with this uneasy feeling of like, okay, whereas my theory of the case here is I Fano's number 1 tackle, followed by Monroe Freeling, then I go to Max Ahanator. I still feel like that group is very tightly clumped together.
Yeah.
Like, it's marginal differences between the group. So not to say that you're ever going to be like, I'll just take whoever, but if my choices are, I'll take whoever's left of the tackles versus whoever's left of the receivers, I feel better about doing it with tackle. And the one guy who everybody seems very confident is going to last a while, I don't know if I buy it, and I have my own issues with him, is Caleb Lomu.
Yeah.
But so
I don't buy that either. But that's the general thought. He could last his second round.
The other question I have is Caden Proctor.
Yeah.
What is the truth with Caden Proctor? And nobody seems to really know. Like, Dane Brugler, who's super tapped in, is saying he's one of the biggest wild cards. You've got people saying, oh, the Browns love him as their best tackle. They would take him at 6. You've got other people saying, oh, he's got the Lions written all over him. You got some people saying, well, he's going to be the last tackle available to the group. I have no idea. And that's the other part about this. So the last variable in all this, which I think is going to work out for the Browns, is Francis Maui-Noa. I don't think he's going to go before 6, which I think will make everybody sort of breathe a little easier, because if he goes off the board, all of a sudden you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like he's going to go as high as maybe, like, at one point people were putting him at 3, and I don't know how much of that was like, we don't really know what to do with him, or the Cardinals, and we're just sort of putting him there, versus they know they really like him. I don't know. And it's another one where if somebody sits there and goes, no, he's a right tackle, then that could upset. Now, having said that, if they do think that, then, I view him as a guard for what I think the Browns want to do.
You're talking about Proctor?
No, Maui-Noa.
Oh, okay.
That it's not the end of the world that he comes off the board for me, because I think he's a guard. But yeah, I still, as we sit here today, go, I know it's historical to do this, but I still think the wide receiver earlier is the better play to maximize what you're trying to get out of this draft. And yes, here's the thing. We'll see if they trade and all that stuff, but if they just sit and pick whatever they take at 6, whether it's receiver or tackle, we are white knuckling the other thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, 200%. I was just going to ask you, at what point do you move up? Like, what are you looking to see? Like, do you need to get down to 2 more guys left and then be like, okay, we need to go get one of our guys? Like, where would you be?
That's the other thing where, when you sort of do the mathing of it, and everybody's trying to link you to Dallas and this whole 12-20 thing,
I like the 9-29 thing a little bit.
That's not a thing. The Chiefs don't have. They don't have 29. Or wait a minute, yeah, they do.
The Rams, yeah. Or the Chiefs.
Yeah. I mean, theoretically, I'd rather have 12-20. I would absolutely rather have 12-20, because it's for this reason. It fits really nicely in this pocket.
Yeah.
Because not only are you at 12, which probably feels about right for what you want to get, depending on what you want to pick, but if you're waiting for tackle to get 20, you have now put yourselves ahead of Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, who could both take tackle. That's where you said it'd go, ooh, that's pretty interesting.
That is.
So
that's probably our best bet to get the 2 positions that we want.
Yeah, 12-20 is like a dream scenario. Now it's all about return and all the other stuff.
Yeah, of course.
You sit here and you go, and again, I'll be sitting there white knuckling at the 12 as I sit there very angrily, mean mugging teams who are looking at Mekhi Lemon, but nevertheless, or Spencer Fano. I would love either one of those guys at 12. That would be super fun. But 12-20 just seems like a really sweet spot, and then you still have 24.
You have Fano as a tackle still, yeah?
Always.
Because I think it was Connor Hughes did a mock and had the Browns trading with Kansas City and dropping to 9, and then he said Spencer Fano, but he had him as a guard. I thought that was interesting, and I don't personally like that.
Yeah, I think he's a tackle. I
love the versatility. I love that he can play any position on the line, but you're taking top 10, put him at tackle.
Well, I could put him at tight end, and we get. I mean, he's just that athletic. But no, I mean, I just look at to me, and we'll see if the Browns agree.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to go, his ability to do backside cutoffs, his ability to get out and lead in zone, his ability to pull and wheel up and to hit moving targets in space on counters and stuff, he's really, really good. You can wrap with him. You can do all the things you'd want to do. Every play, I want Spencer Fano to be moving and doing somewhere on the move, because he's just so good at it. So that's just a huge weapon. Screen game, all this other stuff, and you just it's really good. And again, Monroe Freeling is 2 for me. I'm not down on him because the idea that I think Monroe Freeling sucks or something. I'm just skeptical of the fact that I don't know that he's going to be ready to play
I'm not as worried about that. And I agree with you. I think there is a pretty decent chance that they might bring him along a little slow. That's the one positive to having DeJuan Jones is that, number one, you might not need him for that long, but he's going to at least be able to provide a veteran presence at that position while hopefully Freeland gets comfortable. You know,
perhaps, but
he's got to obviously stay healthy. Yeah,
that's 6. That's a tough deal.
I agree. But at the end of the day, it's just like any other position. I don't necessarily care about chapter 1 as long as it ends up being a good book. You know what I mean? Let's go to the Phil is not a bot, though. What exactly makes you all certain? AB goes wide receiver, offensive tackle at 6. If it gets down to it and there's no trade partner at 6, AB is going to take best player available at that pick, regardless of position. I mean, honestly, Phil, you're not wrong. And who knows? That might be the case. I've kind of started warming up to the idea of a non-receiver or offensive tackle in the first round. I still don't love it. And I feel like come September, we're all going to be like, you know what? Caleb Downs is pretty freaking sweet, but man, this offense still sucks, you know, like something like that. Pete, what's your take on that scenario, and how realistic do you think it is that the Browns pulled the trigger on a non-offensive guy at 6?
They can do it, but it immediately puts pressure on 39th pick.
Yeah,
that they cannot sit there.
Yeah,
because unless they're just going to, wait on something that I don't think is a solution. Not to say he's a bad player, but like if Markel Bell is sort of their contingency plan, it's another DeJuan Jones guy.
Yeah.
And it's not that like he's a bad idea necessarily in terms of, he's so big and all this other stuff. It's more of, it's another guy who's just absolutely does nothing at this point against the run or as a run blocker. And like, I cannot deal with the fact that like you're getting half a player still at that position. And look, I can do the upsell of Markel Bell. His pro day is impressive. Like he is getting after it. Now, it's a pro day.
Yeah.
It's money to be made at pro day in terms of like what you can sell. And I watched him on tape, and you sit there and go, he's standing around a lot, and I'm seeing a whole lot of this when he's run blocking because his head's down and all this. There's just a lot of work there. So, I want, like, for me, pass protection is essential. I want guys who are going to move people off the ball. And I hate watching crappy run offense. Like, I want mean dudes. That's why I like Kalen Rutledge. That's why I like Spencer Fano. That's why I like these guys like Max Ahanachor. Like, I want dudes who are going to blow people off the ball and create.
I agree. That's my biggest issue with DeJuan, Pete, is that he's not a force in the run game. He's literally, he's a mountain to get around, and he's got great feet. So he just like blocks everything out. It's very nice in pass pro. But when he has to generate power and generate push, he falls short. You've even Shelby Harris. I remember when they were doing one of those ClevelandBrowns.com videos about, it was like some sort of strength test where they had to squeeze something or something along those lines. And I remember Shelby Harris made a joke like, "Oh, I know DeJuan can't do that." Like he even called him out for being like, I want tone setters. I want barroom brawlers on the offensive line, dude.
Right. And that's also why I can simultaneously understand and completely get if they go, we want Caden Proctor.
Yeah.
Because he is question mark. Wait, he's King Hippo in terms of that.
Yeah.
But the explosion he has is incredible. Having said that, I've watched Alabama and I'm sitting there going, where's the running game?
Yeah.
So like, I get it. Like, and I said this earlier on Twitter. It's like, I watched there's some video at NFL.com or something. I was looking at his pro day video. It's incredible. And I sit there and go, in 3 years, whether he could be the best tackle or the worst tackle in this class, and everybody will be like, well, yeah, of course he is. Just look at it. Because either he's a 360-pound mammoth who's just killing people, or he's a 360-pound guy who's too fat to like do what you need him to do, and you're sitting there overwhelming. Like there's no surprise either way. Like the range of outcomes is enormous with him, which is why I don't love that. I get it. Like this is why, I see some of these mock drafts that like people do, and like, if you do Caden Proctor and Jordan Tyson, you are taking like the two biggest range of outcome guys.
That's the scariest first round I've ever heard of in my life.
Yeah, and it can be.
I like both guys.
You're sitting there going, "Man, rookie year, this is awesome. Look at these guys get after it." And then all of a sudden, you flash forward, and Jordan Tyson's on crutches, and Caden Proctor's 390. And look, I think
this did not age well.
I think Caden Proctor is more likely to have a Jordan Davis type, transition to the NFL, getting into a NFL dietitian and all that stuff. I think it will be good for him. It's been great for Jordan Davis. Now, I would sit there and look at the NFLPA grades and go, maybe up your game there, Browns, to help him out. But like, he's not a college kid at that point. Now he's a professional, and you've got people that work with him, which is what has happened with DeJuan Jones. Like DeJuan Jones, you see it. Like,
oh yeah,
he listens and he does his stuff, and he's motivated and all this stuff. And Caden Proctor, the other thing I would say about Caden Proctor that I don't like the comparisons to Jed Wills. And I get it. Alabama, and you go to Alabama's got this bad track record, and you sit there and you watch him, and there's stuff that he can do, and he doesn't look like he's motivated on this stuff. I will say this: Caden Proctor graduated in like 3 years with like a science degree. Like, he's a smart kid. Again, all this comes down to, how is this kid wired? I don't know. So I can easily see him being Jordan Davis. And I don't think Jordan Davis is like as good as maybe some people would. He's not Dexter Lawrence, for example.
But he's a problem.
But
he's a problem.
He's gotten his second contract, and he's going to be a fixture in the middle of that defensive line for quite some time. Like, again, would not shock me at all if Caden Proctor is essentially going to be Bryant McKinney.
Yeah.
In a couple of years, we're sitting there going, man, how did anyone think that this guy wasn't going to be good and everybody's going to look stupid? But again, range of outcomes. This is where how lucky are you in terms of injuries? How smart were you in terms of getting us into the kid? Like, that's the one thing where Caden Proctor seems like, there's some things I've heard about him that seem worrying to me, like the fact that he goes to Iowa and is like, I don't fit in here and I want to go home.
Yeah.
That stuff I get a little bit weirded out by, because again, he's super young. He's like barely 21 if he's 21. But I feel like if you put him in the right program, he could just get better and better and better, because obviously his tape last year went with his weight. He got better as he got lighter. So if you're telling me he's going to consistently be, I still don't love the fact he's 360, but he looks really good.
Yeah.
60. Yeah, I get it. So, to get back to the question of, am I confident that, I mean, I'll say I'm confident, and then I watched them take Mason Graham and Carson last year. Well, I think it's the same stuff. So how confident can you really be? I would only say that, like, relative to the board, it makes way more sense this year than it did last year, relative to what they were picking. Last year, I thought they were going to take Abdul Carter at 2. Like, Travis Hunter was always a weird proposition to me, but like, when they traded down, I did think, okay, T-Mac.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was where I thought they were going to go, and they went with Mason.
My initial whatever, I thought it was going to be Ashton Genty. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit. I just thought it'd be safe. They needed it back. They wound up taking 2. I don't think it's that crazy. They took one at 35. I did not expect them to take Mason Graham. I figured it would be offense.
Mason Graham didn't shock me the way.
I knew they liked him,
but I did think T-Mac. I did think it was going to be T-Mac.
Yeah.
And look, I talked up T-Mac the whole time. I remember talking about,
I love him.
I remember
talking
talking about
wide receiver with little man feet.
Well,
always.
My thought process was, screw it. Jerry Jeudy, when he was crushing it, and then Jameis just shucking it to T-Mac. Let's roll. Like, it would at least be fun.
Hell yeah.
And then the second round was weirder because, like, you got
linebacker, running back for the analytics team.
No. I mean, like, there was talk that they might trade up to take the Ohio State tackle, which I don't know if you saw it, but did you see Peter Schrager's video on him talking about the Chiefs pick at the end of the first round? And all of a sudden he goes, I don't know what's going on with this kid, and therefore I'm taking Caleb Lomu.
Yeah.
I was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like because there are a whole lot of Browns fans going, "Why are we not doing this?" And
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and that was a disaster for them last year. Anytime that you go AWOL and you just leave the team for an extended period of time, I mean it's it's an old Mike Pettin line that I love is that you lose trust in buckets and you gain it in drops, right?
yeah.
When you do something like that, that puts you in a very weird spot with the organization for sure.
So if they didn't, since they didn't do that, it was either going to be like Ariante Ursary and the kid maybe from Iowa State. And it was just sort of like, yeah. And I think ultimately, if you were to redo it, if you were to say take a receiver, I think the answer, and I liked him data wise, which is weird because he has some of the same hangups as Concepcion, is Luther Burden. Like a really crappy senior season, crushed it as a junior, and you're sort of like, what's the truth? And it seems like maybe the junior season was closer to true.
Yeah, he looked good as a rookie.
I just think this year's cleaner in terms of the delineation between, particularly when it comes to like 24. I know there are some other things that they will look at. I know there's some other things they could consider. I'd be stunned if 24 or whatever that pick ends up being, if they move it or something else, isn't one of those positions. Yeah. This is the one where I can sort of be like, yeah, I get it. Like, if they come up with Caleb Downs, I'm going to be like, yep. I mean,
I understand.
He's great. Like, I can't. He's great. I know what they can do with him. This is Mike Rutenberg getting put a stamp on the defense. Now, the only thing I would say is if I look at history, and I often do, most teams tend to draft the first player in the head coach's first year, that's the side of the ball they are on. So that would sort of lead you to that. Now, once they trade down, it becomes a little wood. But the other part is, that's the other thing I think that stands out to me. If you want to say 9 or 12 or whatever the hell else you come up with, they move down. I think it's a virtual lock. They're taking one of those two spots.
Yeah.
I think 6 is the only place where I sit there and go,
It would take somebody different. Yeah, I would agree with that. That makes sense. So Andrew Berry's got his quote that he likes is that he goes into every draft as though we're an expansion team and he's just going to add the best talent available and yada yada yada. Look, I think that is a wonderful position to take publicly going into every draft, but as we've seen, they certainly don't. It's not like some hard fast rule that they follow. They draft for need. They filled a bunch of holes last year. Like it makes sense to me, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, the best players available they took were holes. I mean, the defensive tackle one's the one you can sort of go because I'm not over Juwan Briggs. But nevertheless, I mean, if they were smart and they. Not that I wanted to see Shelby Harris go, but that was the one that made sense to sort of be like, we're going to err on the younger side, and we have Mason Graham and Juwan Briggs.
Yeah.
But regardless, that part makes sense. The thing, Andrew Berry did a interview thing with Nathan Zagura today, and he was talking about like parsing that whole thing. And he's like, you start with starters and work your way up from there, which makes me think, that also leads me to think that maybe they're thinking more in terms of getting those needs that again, depending on how you view it. Look, man, people disagree with me, and that's fine. Like, I don't take Mekhi Lemon at 6 because the Browns need a wide receiver, and I'm just taking one. I think Mekhi Lemon is 6 pick good. I'm on the upper echelon of people who think that. Apparently, it's me and Mike Mayock. But
it's good company. Mayock's a good dude.
But that's why I would take him at 6. I think Cardinal Tate, the same thing. And the data agrees with that they can be worth that selection. And then the tape and all the other stuff. But like, I'm not of the mindset of I'm taking Mekhi Lemon at 6 if I were in charge because I'm just taking a receiver. The data says this guy can be an absolute stud. He can be Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's got better production than Amon-Ra St. Brown had coming out of college and all this other stuff. It's the same thing with like the tackles at 24. Like, there's no way to measure production. It's not a great way to do it. And you can make the argument with Monroe Freeling's athleticism that he's worth 6, but like still, it's the same thing. Like I'm not. I suppose there's an inherent bias because the offense is so bad, but still, I think the data supports both of those selections in where they be made.
Yeah. Well, and especially the way the first round is lining up and the talent at those spots. I think that's the biggest pushback you get from fans and media is that they say, "Oh, wide receivers so deep, tackles so deep, you can get one later." I mean, I agree with that to a certain extent, but for what we need, which is a tackle that can play now and a wide receiver that can play now, the earlier the better. Get the cream of the crop. I mean, I would prefer a trade down, but if we are going to take a wide receiver or a tackle, take the pick of the litter at 6. Take
Right.
your favorite guy at the 2 spots that you absolutely need somebody to walk in the door and compete right away. It just makes too much sense.
Well, so Daniel Jeremiah released his top 150, and I looked through he has Casey Concepcion rated 25th. I think off the top of my head, his next receiver was 57th, or 49th. Maybe that was it. 49th and then 57th. It was like Jeremy Bernard. It's pretty.
He likes Denzel, doesn't he? Doesn't he have Boston up in like?
I think he's just like a couple spots ahead of Concepcion.
Yeah,
but like regardless, like so you go from top 25 to now 49, and then a tackle. I think it's a Hanachor. He's got 31, and his next guy is like 50 something, and then the guy after that
is that Caleb Tiernan?
I think so. And then his next guy is Markel Bell, who's in the 90s. So like,
that's falling off a cliff.
That's why I sit there and go like, if the Browns take something else, with one of those picks, like they've got to move up from 39 to go if they're trying to go get one of those guys. Like they're not going to be. So that's why I think it just fits what they're trying to do to get with those 2 picks. Now again, if they trade, it changes the equation. Okay, fine. Like why again, it's very easy to talk yourself into whether you want to go with the 9-29 thing or 12 and 29.
Yeah, but 12, 20, 24 would be.
Yeah, I mean, like then you get to do the thing where you're like, okay, we get to take the best player available, and we still get to get a receiver and a tackle. Like that's pretty good.
Yeah, no, I get that. So as we're coming into one of my favorite things about draft season, just all the different analysts and stuff, is everybody's got like the my guys, right? Like everybody's got that's Mekhi Lemon. That's a my guy for my boy Pete Smith over here, right? So I would like to go through just a handful of positions that I feel like the Browns are going to be targeting where there is a need. And I would love to know, outside of Mekhi Lemon, obviously, who some of your my guys are. All right. So let's go with tight end. Who's a tight end that's a my guy for Pete Smith? Who's the tight end, and in what round do you think is a picture-perfect match for our Browns?
Sam Roush.
Sam
Roush.
Yep.
Yes, and it seems like round 4. I also like the other guy I absolutely love, and I wish he tested, and I wish he did this, that, and the other. I love Max Clare. Like, I think his blocking is underrated, and he just seems to get how to do stuff. Now, I wish he was better after the catch. Now, that's funny. The 2 guys that I've chosen both suck after the catch. They both Austin Hooper the thing and just fall down. They just run and then tip over.
Yeah.
But Sam Roush, particularly for what I think the Browns want to do, he's a bulldozer. It's nearly 6'6", short arms that make no sense. You got to put the ball on him because he will fall over trying to reach outside of his frame. But he will kick guys. He will just kick the shit out of guys on the block. And he beat up on Reuben Bain at tight end. And if you are trying to recreate, what they had in Baltimore, like that's the dude you sit there and go easy. And you just look at what he got as a contract, $8 million a year to go to the Chargers. Like there's clearly a value. And Roush was super productive as a receiver. This is the part, like, I think there's a lot of things I could say about tight ends and what they've seen, like, with Delp and some of the other stuff. But Sam Roush was super productive as a receiver. For all the flaws he has, arm short, falls over, all this stuff. So if he's the fifth option and you're just dumping the ball again, the comparison I've made, Steve Hyden, where like every so often you get the ball and just like, yeah, I love this. Now it's a shame he had such a short career and he's a really good blocker.
Yeah.
But he's just gonna like for what I want to do, I want to get off the ball and beat the crap out of people and run the football and be able to run play action and do that stuff. Sam Roush, I can plug him in at wide right now. I never have to think about with Harold Finn, and I am off and running. But yeah, round 4 seems to be about the sweet spot for him. Wouldn't surprise me if somebody goes a little bit earlier than that because they're just like, I just love this kid. He's also got a very curious heritage. Like Merlin Olsen's like his grandfather. Like he's a bunch of like relatives who played in the league.
That's some tight end lineage right there. That's big time.
He's got genetics and all this stuff, and he's a Stanford kid and all this stuff. But like, yeah, the way he plays football is awesome.
Okay, let's flip to the other side of the ball. How about an edge rusher that you think is number one, is a player that you think is going to find success wherever he goes, but you would love to see it happen in Cleveland?
I love Gabe Yakis from Illinois. He had like 11 sacks or something, and like the next guy on the team had 2. Super powerful, just beats the crap out of people, really super productive. Like his profile is outstanding from that standpoint. And he just wails on guys. And like, yes, I would love to see him on the Browns, but he is so redundant. Maybe he's a better version of Isaiah McGuire and Alex Wright, but he's literally going to do the same thing. You just beat on people and win with power. But
he has shot up draft boards. I've seen some low level talk of him going in the late first round, but I've seen him very comfortably in the second round lately.
Top 50 seems to be about the sweet spot.
Yeah.
But he gets how to beat blocks. He gets how to play the run and just a physical dude. So yeah, I like the way he plays.
And pass rushing is one of those things that translates. Like
it does. It's more along the lines of like the pushback you will get is you're like, if guys you just win with speed, the worry is they don't have enough power, and that can sort of be countered. Whereas power just works. Yeah. Jared being a very good example. Jared Verse just has power that's going to beat people up. So yeah, I mean, like the problem you get with a guy like Yakis, and I don't know how good he's going to be in his NFL pass rusher, it's going to take him a minute. That's the problem. Is it's probably not going to result in quick wins.
Yeah,
which is a bit of a challenge, but he does win.
All right. How about an interior offensive lineman? Which I mean, I think I'm setting up Keelan Rutledge here, but
you are.
Yeah. Well, talk about Keelan Rutledge and why he'd be such a good fit for the Browns, who happen to have a hole at right guard.
Keelan Rutledge started at Middle Tennessee State and has worked his way up. He eventually went to Georgia Tech, suffered a car. This is the question that has to be answered with him. He was in a car accident that involved a rollover accident that involved an injury to his foot and his big toe. Had to have surgery to repair it. Then they had to go back in to reset the toe, which is not great. But he missed spring practice that year because it happened like December 2023. Missed spring practice, then came in and started the next 26 games all at right guard. Allegedly has some great reputation as it comes to dealing with pain, but nevertheless, you're going to want to get an evaluation on his foot to make sure you feel about that. But
I heard that foot's petrified. Maybe we'll get him down to 107.
Might be. He will freely admit, and I hate my opponent. And he plays that way every snap. He hates his opponent. He wants to beat the crap out of the other guy until they whistle and to stop.
Yep.
Powerful for a guy who like he did not test like otherworldly in terms of like explosion, but you see it on tape in terms of like he understands how to use his body and he syncs up his routine in terms of how he uses his hands and everything to maximize power, and he knows how to do it. But the thing that I love about Keelan Rutledge is that he also is very athletic. 7.5 3 cone, 4.54 short shuttle. Like he can do all the things. So like, so often with right guard, you can sit there and go, well, he's got to be a guy who wins double teams. Keelan Rutledge Keelan Rutledge can do that, but he also has the ability to win on traps going the other way. He has the ability to pull going the other way. He can run zone without issue. Like, he has all the things. So, like, to me, I love the fact that Keelan Rutledge has the tenacity. He has that mean streak. He plays the whistle, and his strength and why I love him for the Browns is his scheme versatility. The fact that he's so good at both things that I would not want to limit him to only doing one of them. I think his strength is using both, keeping the opponent off balance and letting him just do all the stuff. But like, you could easily see him with a center or right tackle and just double teaming dudes all over the place, and then going back to the other side and kicking somebody out of a trap to open up running lanes. He's got a little bit of work to do with pass pro. I don't care. You put him in a right guard, you let Coach Warhop just coach him up, and you just keep working and working and working. You figure it out.
All right. Love that and agree with that completely. I've got a wide receiver that I would like to ask you about. This is a bit of a my guy scenario. I like Deion Burks from Oklahoma. He's a little short, but he's built, man. He's a little brick blank house. He's got some speed. He's a slot player. We could probably have him third round. How do you feel about Deion Burks?
Deion Burks is all the things you said. He's also not.
Let's say he's 25.
No, he's not 25, but he is not productive. And that scares the crap out of me with any receiver, because that is the thing that they need to be able to do. For example, Deion Burks this year had 620 receiving yards and an offense that threw for 3,000. Not great. He was behind a guy named Isaiah Satania III in receiving yards. And you look back at Deion Burks the year before. Now, they were real bad passing the ball in 2024. 2020, 2,286 total passing yards. That feels familiar. He caught 245 of them. Like, it's worrying. So if you take Deion Burks, what you are betting on is exactly what you said. Mm-hmm. Quarterback situation is the problem. I don't love that. I don't love that at the size of Burks. He's 9.
Yeah.
He's short. Now, you're right. He is strong as hell for his size.
Yep.
He's not a waif by any stretch. He's a little muscle man, but to me, price point doesn't match what I want at receiver. So the risk is way too much, outweighs the reward. Maybe it's going to work. The highlights are very impressive with him. Mm-hmm. I just think consistency is missing.
Okay. Now let's go with you. Let's swing over to the cornerback position. Where and who would you like to see the Browns address quarterback, and from which school?
Yeah, I mean,
give me two. Give me an outside corner and give me a slot option.
Well, they're the same guy, which is
Dalen Everett.
Dalen Everett.
Okay.
I'd put him in the slot.
Oh.
But he played outside of Georgia, and he can do that. And certainly you get that ability to recreate what you've had. There are people who do not like this guy and have him as a 5th-round grade. He started at Georgia the last couple of years, played against really good competition, shined in the SEC championship 2 years in a row. He is not afraid. Played in a bunch of scheme stuff, like the mixed up stuff. I think he's better at man and press. He doesn't have great hips. He can do some short zone stuff where I think he can do some disguise coverages and some traps that are interesting. You're going to ask him to press, presumably in the slot, and just fight that guy. And that is what he will do. He will fight. The other thing that Dalen Everett does is he is super fast off the corner to blitz or get in the backfield. He don't care. He will go. He will make plays. And, like, that is the one thing, which is not a criticism of the guys they've had. I just don't think they've had that guy who's just like, no, I'm going to go punish somebody.
Yeah.
I think he's got that. I think that makes up for some of the deficiencies it might have in terms of, like, true hip flexibility. And, like, I can't resist. I can't resist pricks at corner. Like, He not like the fearlessness, the way he plays, high level competition. In terms of like data and the profile, he has like basically the best profile in the entire class.
Oh wow.
And part of that's because he ran 4.3. Like
Yeah.
this is also helpful, but he was super productive. He put people on the ground. He makes plays on the ball. He caused turnovers. Like he does all the stuff. And like, if you're telling me this battle tested SEC corner is going to sit there and run 4 and run 5, I suspect
sign
you
me
can
up.
hang around the league quite a while. Like it's not to say that's guaranteed and all this stuff. Like you can point to fail, but I'm going to bet on him. And I would genuinely love to know if Todd Monken's like, I remember that guy. He was a pain in the ass at scout team or something like that. Like that'd be really interesting. If the Browns draft him, I would be curious if that comes up. But like,
yeah,
look, man, you cannot have a guy in the field on defense that cannot put people on the ground. I hear crap about corners. I hear crap about defensive tackles. Well, it doesn't matter that, but no, you got to have 11 dudes who put people on the ground because they will find them if they can't. Dalen Everett puts people on the ground. Dalen Everett makes plays on the ball. Dalen Everett competes. Dalen Everett does all the things I want to do, and he has inside-outside versatility.
Okay, I love that. So we got Turtle in the chat asking you about Malachi Lawrence. Oh, hold on. Let me get that up there. What are your thoughts on Malachi Lawrence? And he's another guy that I've got with R. Mason Thomas in that second round area because that's where I would like to see a D end.
Yeah, I don't know that he's going to last that long.
Yeah. Well, they're talking about him in the back end of round 1 now.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, he tested out of his mind. And, like, that's part of it, but everybody knew he was athletic. This was not a surprise.
Yeah, he's one that pops on tape. Like, you can see the athleticism.
Now, the other thing that stands out on tape is effort. The dude just does not quit. He is relentless. Now, the problem that you're sort of betting on that he's going to figure out is, like, he doesn't have the answers yet. Mm-hmm. So like there are times where he's just smoking dudes, and there are times where it's just like he looks confused as to how he's going to deal with the situation. But like you can make a case, and I've heard like John Ledyard make this case, which is interesting. I don't know that I'd buy it, and basically say like he's the guy. He's in Ledyard's view. He's the guy he thinks has the chance to be the truly special pass rusher from this class more than anyone else. Because of the things we're talking about, because of the tools, the traits, he's got the long arms and all this stuff. So I could see a scenario where the Browns are like, if he's there at 39 and they're like, we want another speedy pass rusher guy, you can do it. And he's got more of the obvious traits that you sit there and go, okay, I get it. Like in terms of athleticism, where like R. Mason Thomas is a more polished pass rusher but he also has like a 7.43 cone. You're sort of like, it's not great. Yeah. Or Cassius Howell, who I would love. Like if you're asking me one of those guys at 39, that I like Ari Mason Thomas as well, but like I would have to side with Mike Keefe and go if we're gonna let him be in round 2, I will take Cassius Howell.
How would you feel about say we did the trade with Dallas? How would you feel about Lemon at 12, Ihanacher 20, Cassius Howell at 24?
I don't think you have to take him that early.
Oh, okay. Oh, you think he falls into?
Maybe it really depends. The one team that sort of stands out for that is the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
They need more pass rush help, and I think Buffalo would too, but I think most people think they're going to go a different direction. But like, if one of those teams could fall in love with Malachi Fields and they go, oh, Cassius Howell's arms are too short and all this other stuff, maybe that allows him to fall. I'm not saying I would be unhappy with Cassius Howell at 24. It just feels a little luxurious. There are other things I would probably want, but like I get it because he's just a relentless pass rusher and threat that like with the speed and all this other stuff that can just torture dudes. You're essentially saying we think Cassius Howell is Nate Herbig, and we're not. Was it Nick or Nate? Whichever the pass rusher one. Yeah. We're not waiting around to chance it. We think he's that good. We think he's going to be that big of an enhancement to our team. So we're going to take him that early. So if that's the argument you want to make, I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's literally a drive of college football where he sacks the quarterback 3 times in a row, and that's just it.
That's pretty sweet.
So, it's easy to like those type of guys. So I like all 3 of those. So, I mean, there's a part of you that sits here and goes, if that is their goal,
yeah,
can play it and go, I'll take the one who's left over. But I'm sure they have a favorite. Obviously, they've had R. Mason Thomas in for a visit.
Mm-hmm.
I see the appeal. I don't know about Fields or Howell, at least to the point where they've sort of done that, but that doesn't mean like those guys. It's just a question of, do they view it the same way? So Malachi Fields is really, really intriguing. I think in terms of tools, he's got more than those two. In terms of development curve, he's a little bit behind.
Well, isn't that kind of perfect for us, though? Because we're essentially looking for a fourth defensive end who's going to be a primary pass rusher in pass rush situations. So for him to go out, be opposite of Miles, and just be, go get the quarterback, like that's an easy way to bring him along slowly to ultimately become a 3-down player, but also make an impact early.
Yes, but I think he's like behind those two at that.
Oh, okay.
R. Mason Thomas and Cassius House are better pass rushers right now than the Malachi Fields. You are betting that Malachi Fields is ultimately going to surpass them. But like those guys were more productive. Pass rush rate is better, and they also played better competition to get there. You can see more of like R. Mason Thomas has a plan. He knows what he's doing. Cassius Howell is just like, I am really, really fast, and you're going to deal with it. Like, so Malachi Fields is still sort of figuring it out. He's got some stuff he can do. The hustle's there. You can see him sort of trying to piece stuff together. It's just not there yet.
Yeah, that's I got to tell you, the motor and the high end athleticism is such an intriguing combination, man. Mm-hmm. Those are the combinations that don't fail. You know what I mean? Like obviously, like there's gonna be other factors that can get in the way of a player, but if you have the right mentality and you're just a dog on the field like that with that athleticism. Man, that's definitely intriguing. How about before I ask you about a specific safety that you like, tell me about Treydon Stukes from Arizona. I've been reading that this dude is flying up draft boards, and I'm interested as to why.
He's big. He's huge.
It's like 6'3", right?
Yeah, he's a big boy safety. He's had a very sort of interesting career because he's been in college for a very, very long time.
He's an old boy. How old? Is he 24? Is he 25?
He will be 24.61 on draft day.
That's not bad.
So
better than 24.7.
So he's huge in terms of a guy you can put in the slot, but he can also theoretically play on the back end. So he's got this weird amount of versatility. But like that's he and Keontae Scott have the same risk factors.
Yep.
Both played really, really well this past year. Stukes has a little bit more of a background because like 2024, Treydon Stukes missed like basically the whole year, I think, with injury. I can look real quick. He missed basically the whole year with an injury of some sort. Yeah, 20 ACL. So he was good in 2020, productive, reasonably productive in 2023, misses all of 2024. So he goes back to school and plays in 2025. So hence you get a super overage. Right now he's going to be an overage project regardless. He's always going to be at least a 24-year-old rookie. Whereas Keontae Scott has been a not great, dominant player in his last year when he's 24 years old. So you can sit there and you go, I'm going to take these guys. I'm going to plug them in the slot. Maybe Treydon Stukes has a little bit more versatility. I can do some more things with him. There's some people like Keontae Scott as a safety in the same way. But the volatility there, because the risk is higher. They're either going to hit really, really quickly and be what they are because they're 24 or practically 25 by the time the season starts with Stukes, or you're going to sit there and go, oh man, that sucks because he can't do it, and he's just never going to be good. So again, it's a range of outcomes thing. Like that's just what the deal is, at least with historic data says as far as risk factors for guys that old. So I get the appeal. I have no interest in him, but like I get why other people do, and they're both going to go fast enough. They're going to be like, "Ooh, that feels like a lot."
So, what do you about? What would you think about a wide receiver, a safety creeping into the discussion in round one? Whether it's a trade down or whether it's just somebody at 24, whether it's if Thieneman were to fall or if they really like McNeil Warren. I mean, obviously we've talked about Caleb, but McNeil Warren, I feel like, is the one that's really on the radar. But I like Thieneman.
I like Thieneman as well.
Yeah.
But the Browns, like, at least clearly like Manuel McNeil Warren.
Yeah.
Manuel McNeil Warren, for me, just raises questions. Not that about him necessarily, though there are some of those. About what the defense wants to do.
Yeah.
Manuel McNeil Warren is a turnover machine. He got the peanut punch. He can make plays on the ball. He can do some other stuff. But I don't know that I love the idea of leaving him at free safety in the middle by himself.
Yeah.
So, and he does a lot of things that I think Grant Delpit can do. They can both. I think he can cover tight end. I think he can do some of those type of things. I think he can blitz. I think he can do a lot of interesting things in terms of some of the stuff Grant Delpit does. I don't know if he'll be as good as Grant Delpit, but I get it. But if you take him and you've got a trio of Emmanuel McNeil Warren, Grant Delpit, and Ronnie.
That's your word, redundant.
Well, to me, it says now it says to me you're not going to be playing a whole lot of single high.
Yeah.
To me, you're going to play more two high. At least that's my thought. Maybe they trust they trust Hickman or Warren more than I do, or they want Delpit back there. I don't know. Like, to me at that point, like, Delpit is your best free, which is a weird situation. So maybe they just think more of these guys than I do, but it does suggest to me, like, I don't love any of these guys necessarily being a true free safety. I want more bodies back there, and given what they have on the defensive line, I'm more comfortable having more bodies back there too. If Mason Graham's going to take a big step this year, and they've got Kalia Davis, and they've got all these guys, maybe they're comfortable with the idea of playing more too high. And then if they get Emmanuel McNeil Warren, they're like, yep, we're going to do this, and we're going to have him and Delpit in the back and Ronnie Hickman doing something else and all this stuff. And then at that point, you can, on any given play, have any of those three guys doing one of those three roles. That's interesting. And in terms of trying to create turnovers and disguise and do all these other stuff, like, I get the appeal.
Yeah.
They're sitting there going, we love this to do single high. I'm going to be curious to see if they can pull it off, because I can see a scenario where, teams just find a way to attack that guy in the middle, and there's nobody back there, and it's just him and one-on-one, or multiple guys are being thrown back there, and they've got no answer for it.
Okay. Well, how about a safety that you could see the Browns target that would maybe provide a little more back-end center field ability?
So that's where Thieneman obviously comes in. That's what he is. Some people will say, they don't love him coming downhill. They don't see the athleticism. All I see is the ball production. He makes plays on the football. That's it. And he makes tackles. So that part's really interesting. And then after that, I like the two USC safeties,
Bishop Fitzgerald, and who's the second one?
Kamari Ramsey.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, Kamari Ramsey comes with injury risk because Kamari Ramsey has never made it through a season, and the NFL is a longer season. But he's super rangy, and he does a whole lot of athletic stuff. It makes it feel at times like you have 12 defenders on the field, which I love. I love that about Minka Fitzpatrick coming out. I love safeties that give you that feel because they're just all over the place. Bishop Fitzgerald, to me, has a little Xavier Watts to him. 10 interceptions the last 3 seasons, not as productive as Watts, who I think had 13 in 2 seasons for Notre Dame, or like 11 or something like that, and they had 5 as a rookie. Mm-hmm. I could see where Fitzgerald is intriguing to Rudy Rutenberg, because he just had Xavier Watts. And if he sits there and goes, Fitzgerald does a lot of things, and I think Fitzgerald's going to be had a lot cheaper than Watts.
Yeah.
So you may be able to get with that. And like, this is where I'm sort of at. And this is where I would love to be in the head of these guys. I want somebody who can do more on the back end at free in coverage and stuff, like to help out in zone and play that center fielder spot, as opposed to another what feels like a strong safety where you're just like, I've got a whole lot of these guys. Maybe you can mix and match, which is where obviously Caleb Downs just becomes really interesting because it feels like he could do everything.
Yeah.
And just become a weapon in that regard. But I like the two USC guys. Genesis Smith is very interesting in terms of that center field element. I'm not so worried about the missed tackle stuff. I think he gets to a lot of plays. And these are all guys who fit the age gap because this is a year where I think the oldest position might be safety.
Yeah.
There's so Bud Clark is another.
Yeah. 24. Well, we just had somebody ask. We had Turtle ask about Bud Clark, but he's 24, right?
Another guy who's been in college for 6 years. Like, there's a lot of these, and maybe the Browns don't care. Maybe there's a value where on day 3 they're just like, we just want a dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a big Bud Clark guy for that reason, but like I think there's real value. And the guy I had in the first mock draft I did, and Dane Brugler has an undrafted free agent, and if he's an undrafted free agent, you and I will go drive and get him. Is Wydett Williams from Ole Miss.
Okay.
Who is getting no hype. He played at Ole Miss. They go to the national championship. I think he started at Delta State and then went to another college and then ended up at Ole Miss. And he was productive at the last 2 places he played. Productive this year. Tackles, pass breakups, interceptions. He did all of it. Got good size. Then he gets invited to the Senior Bowl, and he sort of like also ran. I don't think he was initially invited. I think he was a call up. So I think he was there for part of it. Does not get invited to the combine. Don't love his 3-cone, but the production profile is really strong, and he's got the size, and he plays that position. And you're sort of like, and if you're going to tell me this guy's undrafted, yeah, absolutely. I'm all about it. I like the mock I did. I was like, I will take this guy in round 7 because production is just really, really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, he played a big time. He was in the national championship. It's not like he was. It's weird.
He went through the playoffs. He went through the gauntlet of the playoffs. Like, that's big time. Yeah.
So, picked up Garrett Nussmeier. Not a sleeper because obviously he played at a huge college, but like one of these guys, you're just like, is this guy not being or talked about? So I don't know if there's something there that I don't know about or whatever. But if you're telling me undrafted, get him here.
Hell yeah. Well, that's good to know. Good to see. And look, if we gotta drive down, there and pick him up, let's swing over to Mobile. What was that barbecue joint in Mobile we went to?
Out of business.
Stop.
Brick pit's gone.
That's a damn shame.
There's so many places.
Maybe we'll just send a car. I don't know if I want to make the drive now.
The place that is open is the place where I'm fairly sure is open. I can consult the unofficial concierge, Brian Bossard, is the place that we went that John Dorsey showed up at too.
Oh, at the bar? The bar first night with Jerry Jones?
No. This was that's another different place. No, this is a further trip out, and it's a buffet.
Oh wow!
It's just that me. Well, when I went there, it was me, Bo Sarge, Joe Goodberry was there, and John Dorsey rolls in like he owns the place. He knows everybody.
That's awesome. Was that Detroit Dorsey or Cleveland Dorsey?
No, it's Cleveland still.
So he had the sweatshirt on.
Oh yeah, and unbelievable banana pudding, like just awesome. Yeah. The brick pit is no more, which is a shame because you and I just kept that place.
Brick pit, God, that place so good, amazing. God. All right. Well, either way, great show as usual, Pete. And guys, thank you so much for sticking with us. We appreciate it so much. And dude, I mean, this is it. We got one more stupid ass day before we got this whole thing upon us, guys. I cannot wait. It's gonna be the longest 36 hours of the year. But either way, guys, be sure to tune in. Same place, Draft Cave, 7:30 Thursday night. Me, Pete, Mike Keefe, tons of guests. We're gonna have Fred Greetham from Berea. We're gonna have Park Fizzler from Pittsburgh. We're gonna have so much stuff, guys. So much stuff going on. So be sure to tune in 7:30 Thursday night for the draft in the draft cave with Pete, Joe, Mike, and all the OBR guys. It's gonna be awesome. Pete, what are ideal first round right now? You say yours first, and I'll say mine.
Oh, I don't care how you get there.
Mekhi Lemon at 6. Who's your pick?
Mekhi Lemon and Max Ahanacher is my dream.
Mekhi and Max. I love that. I'm going Carnell Tate and Blake Miller. Those are my guys. But either way, love it. Thank you guys for sticking with us, and we will see you Thursday at 7:30. And man, I can't wait. Go Browns, and we will catch you guys later.